the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.
In the eerie quiet of the midnight sea, a chilling sight loomed before the sailors. The darkness of the night was split by the moonlight reflecting off the ghostly silhouette of a ship, abandoned and floating aimlessly in the vast ocean. It was an unexpected sight, a ship in the middle of nowhere, void of life yet brimming with stories untold. As the sailors drew closer, their initial excitement transformed into a creeping unease. The ship, once a majestic vessel, now lay in a state of decay. Its wood was weathered and worn, and its sails were tattered remnants, flapping in the frigid wind like the wings of a wounded bird. The ship was an apparition, a ghost stranded in the middle of the sea, a chilling reminder of a voyage that had gone terribly wrong. The silence around it was deafening, an odd contrast to the usual cacophony of the sea. The only sound was the ominous creaking of the ship, each groan echoing through the night like a mournful cry. The sailors felt a chill run down their spines, a sense of impending dread that they couldn't quite shake off. Despite the unease, curiosity took hold. What could have happened to the ship? Where was its crew? The sailors were seasoned men of the sea, unafraid of the unknown, yet there was something about the ship that made their hearts pound in their chests, an underlying fear that they tried to ignore. After a brief discussion, a decision was made. They would board the ship, the very thought of which sent a shiver down their spines. They were about to step into a world frozen in time, a world that held secrets of a forgotten past. Each sailor felt the weight of their choice, the gravity of the journey they were about to embark upon. As they approached the ghostly vessel, the sea seemed to hold its breath, anticipating their impending doom. The sailors steeled themselves, their hearts heavy with anticipation and fear. They were about to uncover a story that had been lost in the depths of the ocean, a tale of dread, despair, and doom. Little did they know their dreadful discovery was just the beginning. The ship creaked under their weight, a groan of protest from the long-forgotten vessel. As they ventured further into the belly of the ship, the silence was deafening. The only sound was their own breath echoing off the cold, damp walls. It was a quiet that didn't belong at sea, a quiet that seemed to swallow the natural sounds of the ocean itself. They moved cautiously, their flashlights casting long shadows that danced and flickered like ghostly apparitions. Each new room they entered was a tableau of a life abruptly interrupted. Beds were unmade, chairs were tipped over, and personal belongings were scattered about as if their owners had vanished in the middle of their daily routines. In the dining hall, a meal had been left uneaten, the food long since rotted away. In the captain's quarters, the ship's log lay open, the last entry ominously incomplete. The words, "May God save our souls," were scrawled in a desperate hand, the ink smudged as if hurriedly written. Everywhere they looked, there were signs of a hasty departure. Clothes strewn about, trunks left open, letters half-written. It was as if the ship itself held its breath, suspended in a moment of sheer terror for decades. The air grew colder and heavier the deeper they ventured into the ship. It was a palpable tension, a sense of dread that seemed to seep into their bones. The walls seemed to close in around them, the darkness pressing against the feeble light of their flashlights. The ship was a tomb, a monument to a crew long lost to the depths of the ocean, yet it felt like they were not alone. It was as if the ship was alive, its heart still beating, its breath still drawn. The sailors could feel the restless spirits that lingered, the echoes of their last moments forever imprinted on the ship's wooden panels. The further they ventured, the heavier the air became, as if they were descending into the belly of a beast. In the ship's darkest corner they found the truth, a truth that chilled their very souls. The sailors, braving the unseen and unknown, unearthed a story that would forever be etched in their minds. The ship's crew hadn't simply vanished, they were trapped, their spirits chained to the vessel, cursed to forever sail the seven seas. Each sailor felt a cold shiver down their spine as they pieced together the horrifying fate of the crew. The chilling realization that the ship was not merely abandoned but a prison of souls was a thought that sent waves of dread coursing through their veins. The air around them grew colder, their breaths visible in the icy chill. The ship itself seemed to groan under the weight of its spectral passengers. Then the apparitions made their presence known. Invisible hands brushed against their shoulders, whispering voices echoed in their ears. The ship was alive with the sounds of the lost crew, their haunting wails echoing through the ship, a chilling symphony of despair. The sailors felt eyes upon them, eyes unseen but deeply felt. The ghostly crew was not simply trapped, they were aware, cognizant of their fate and the intruders who dared to venture into their realm. The spectral sailors did not shy away from making their presence known, their spectral forms flickering in and out of sight, their wails growing louder, more desperate. The ship was not just haunted, it was a living, breathing testament to a terrifying curse. The sailors could feel the despair and anger of the spirits, their longing for freedom, their resentment for the living. The chilling truth was that they were not alone on the ship. They were surrounded by the restless spirits of a crew condemned to an endless voyage. The sailors, frozen in fear, could only watch as their reality warped into a nightmare. Their terror was not born out of the unknown anymore, but from the terrifying truth that they were not alone, and that they had stumbled upon a world where the dead ruled the seas. With every step towards escape, the ship fought back, the spirits relentless in their torment. There was a palpable tension in the air, thick as a fog and just as blinding, as the sailors sought to extricate themselves from this nautical nightmare. The ship, once a beacon of human ingenuity, had become a labyrinth of dread, its winding corridors echoing with the eerie whispers of the long-dead crew. The sailors, brave men of the sea, found themselves reduced to trembling shadows in the face of the ship's spectral inhabitants. There was no man among them who wasn't drenched in cold sweat, their hearts pounding like a drum in the silence of the ship. Their only guide was the dim glow of their lanterns, casting long, monstrous shadows that danced and flickered on the weathered wood. The spirits were not content to let them leave without a fight. They seemed to feed off the sailors' fear, growing stronger, more vicious. The air grew colder, the whispers louder, and the ship seemed to sway and groan in delight. The spectral crew, once men of the sea like our sailors, now lost souls trapped in an eternal torment, sought to add these fresh souls to their damned ranks. The sailors, however, were not so easily defeated. With every chilling whisper, every spectral apparition, their resolve only hardened. They stumbled, they fell, but they got up, their desperation fueling their determination. Their terror was matched only by their will to survive, to escape this accursed ship. The ship, once a silent specter on the horizon, was now alive with the sound of pounding feet, the creak of old wood, and the ghostly whispers of its spectral crew. The sailors were so close, just a few more steps and they would be free. But the spirits were not done. They reached out, spectral hands grasping, voices rising in a deafening crescendo. And then, silence. The last sailor had made it, his feet touching the familiar deck of their own ship. He looked back one final time, his eyes meeting the ghostly gaze of the lost crew. As the last sailor reached their own ship, he looked back one final time, his eyes meeting the ghostly gaze of the lost crew. Back on their own ship, they thought they had escaped the nightmare. But as they sailed away, the relief they felt was as fleeting as the ghost ship disappearing into the fog. They had left the haunted vessel, but it seemed the haunting hadn't left them. Each creak of their ship echoed the spectral sounds of the ghost ship. Every gust of wind carried the faintest whisper of the lost crew's wails. The ocean, once a symbol of adventure and freedom, now held a chilling dread. It was as if the curse of the ghost ship had seeped into their very souls, leaving an indelible mark as cold and haunting as the misty sea. They could no longer find comfort in the familiar. The curse had transformed their world into a realm of perpetual fear, and as the spectral wails faded into the distance, they were left with a chilling question. Would they ever truly escape the curse of the ghost ship?
Hit the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.